Hello everyone, back with an IRS Tax Refund update. On today's episode, as we've now entered the month of July with those refund delays continuing for many of you, we did continue to see significant movement over the past week in the issuing of new refunds, so we will recap that and one thing that may have contributed to that development. Meanwhile, a number of you who have been checking your tax transcripts for regular updates are reporting seeing a star symbol next to the tax year, so we'll take a look at what that means and some comments and questions you've been posting. Now, over the past week, we finally saw some of the most significant movement of the issuing of new tax refunds this year, and especially since the tax filing deadline back in April. Most of those reporting those refund updates have been electronic filers who have filed as far back as January. There were also a handful of paper filers who did reach out to indicate they did finally receive those refunds as well. So this development is a good indicator for those of you who are continuing to wait. However, needless to say, this is way overdue. The fact that people are still waiting for their refunds in the month of July shows how the current system is no longer sustainable and what problems you may be facing in the years ahead. Now, while refunds are sent via direct deposit throughout the week, Wednesdays are the days in which the IRS transmits the largest batches of tax refunds to banks nationwide, so we'll expect the next large batch to be sent on July 6th. While we continue to see progress with electronic returns, those of you waiting on paper returns may experience longer wait times as there are still 19 million unprocessed paper returns remaining, while there are fewer than half of the amount of electronic returns still remaining. One of the questions also being asked is why all of a sudden is there progress now after months of waiting? As we covered just recently, a critical report about the IRS backlog was released, which did get national attention, covered by news outlets such as CBS, CNBC, Political, and the New York Times. And it was only a very short time later that all of a sudden we started seeing movement with tax refunds. So some will say it was pure coincidence, while others say the new sudden attention forced the IRS to produce results. This report did give an insight in how bad things became this year, but also gave recommendations on how to fix some of the issues to prevent it from happening again and to ensure your refunds are sent faster than this year. However, the IRS has already said they will not be implementing these plans and will want additional funding, even though they're still holding on to unspent money they received from pandemic relief funding. Meanwhile, a number of you checking your tax transcripts for updates reporting seeing the star symbol as seen here next to the tax year. Now, this symbol does not indicate progress or a problem, but what is happening is all tax accounts that have not been processed roughly 60 days after the tax filing deadline should expect to see this. This is something that is automatically generated by the system and will serve as a placeholder and will eventually disappear once your return is actually processed. Now, the request of verification of non-filing of a tax return letter that is being received is connected to the star symbol and is important to those needing to provide proof of a submitted tax return. One of the biggest impacted groups is college students applying for financial aid who need their federal income tax returns when filling out their FAFSA form. Taking a look at some of those comments, viewer Joe Reed, who filed back in March, finally received their refund this past week. Now, they did have to submit additional documentation back in April, and it was only after reaching out to a taxpayer advocate in June did they see an update to their tax transcripts a week later. So again, another example in which a taxpayer advocate was able to help. Jordan Infield asked, when checking the refund status results, is the message, "We cannot provide any information about your refund" common? Yes, it is, Jordan. Many people are reporting seeing this, especially paper filers such as yourself, and you should expect to see it until your return is finally processed. Meanwhile, viewer XMiguel20 also reported receiving their refund this week after months of waiting. Viewer Sarah Green is still waiting on their refund after filing back in January and receiving two 60-day notices. After reaching out to the IRS, Sarah was informed a third 60-day notice was sent out, which was never received, and that it could be possibly mid-September before a refund is actually sent out. So another example of how we're starting to see progress, but the wait for some is going to carry through the summer. Viewer Frank Dillon, who's a regular viewer, sent his return in by mail in early February to the Utah Processing Center, reported after months of checking his return is now showing as being processed. He did subsequently report the status has changed several times since. However, it is likely that processing has in fact begun, but as we know, the refund page does not always display most accurate information. Frank, if you can, do check your tax transcripts for any further updates. Let us know in the comment section below what problem you're currently experiencing. In the meantime, we will keep monitoring the situation for further developments, so make sure to click on the thumbs up and subscribe button below for future updates on this channel, and thanks for watching.